In 2013, Levi Wallace had just graduated from Tucson High School and was prepared to enroll at the University of Alabama in order to get a business degree which would allow him to become a pharmaceutical salesman. Fast forward to today, and that same guy is looked at by some as a top cornerback in the entire NFL. A kid who had 0 stars and scholarship offers to his name coming out of high school has now started 60 out of the 65 games that he has played in the NFL. In this video, we'll be talking about someone who surpassed all odds to be where he is today, Levi Wallace. Before we get into the video, I'd appreciate if you guys liked and shared the video, as it helps the channel to grow. Now let's get into it. Levi was born into a family with structure and discipline, as he had a dad who served in the Air Force for 21 years. This way of life taught Levi how to be hardworking and resilient, which would pave the way for his future before he even knew it. Moving on to his high school years, he was a standout player but struggled to attract college attention due to his rail-thin physique and his inability to put on weight. Although this was the case, he still did great in high school as he did everything for his team. He returned punts, kicks, played receiver, and DB. In 2012, which was his senior year, the dude played in 10 games and had an incredible stat line. He finished with 19 receptions for 363 yards and 4 touchdowns on offense, 21 solo tackles, 2 pass breakups, 2 recovered fumbles, and 6 interceptions on defense, and added to that with 306 return yards and a kickoff return touchdown. Despite this stat line and his incredible versatility, his lack of weight seemed to be too much of an issue since he had a total of 0 stars and scholarships as he approached the end of high school. It was around this time that Levi's father was tragically diagnosed with ALS, which soon consumed much of his and his family's life. While he had once dreamed of walking on at the University of Alabama, the weight of his father's health weighed heavily on his mind, and so he eventually gave up on that and decided to pursue a business degree at the University of Alabama. Fortunately for Levi, because of his father's GI Bill, he was able to attend Alabama for free, which I'm sure helped out his family a lot. So Levi went off and completed 1 semester at the university and then returned to Tucson for Christmas break. It was during that break that Levi's father convinced him to walk on at the University of Alabama and assured him that he had the ability to be great. So Levi, inspired and feeling like he owed it to his father to at least try and walk on, went through the process of contacting the team and walking onto one of, if not the best football program in the country. When spring practice came, Levi realized that he could compete at this level. Although the guys he went up against were almost always bigger, stronger, and faster, Levi separated himself by beating them with his technique. As the spring game approached, his father's health began to decline, and he didn't have much time left. On April 18th, 2014, he sadly passed away. Obviously a horrible tragedy, and I don't really need to explain how hard this probably hit Levi because, it was his dad, the man who shaped his lifestyle and inspired him more than anyone. Knowing that his dad would want him to play in the spring game, Levi suited up and played in front of thousands of fans in Tuscaloosa for the first time ever. For the next 2 seasons, Levi stayed on the scout team and got the chance to line up against Alabama's best receivers, guys like Ardarius Stewart, Calvin Ridley, and Amari Cooper. And as he went up against these guys more and more, the receivers said that he was really good and were even confused on why he was with the Alabama scout team because they believed he would start at any other D1 school. Now, that right there should tell you everything you need to know about how committed Levi really was to this team. To be told by the best receivers on your team that you could start at another D1 school and then choose to stay in Tuscaloosa is wild. It not only showed how committed he was, but it also showed how committed he was to the team. Like, he wasn't just looking to play anywhere, he wanted to play at Alabama. And that he would do since during fall camp of his junior year, he was awarded a full scholarship. A great accomplishment for the guy, and it was definitely something he deserved. In that junior year, he would mostly appear on special teams and sometimes as a third corner. He ended the season with just 11 total tackles and 2 pass breakups. But it's pretty hard to rack up a lot of stats when you're behind guys like Marlon Humphrey, who was a first-team All-American that year and was selected with the 16th overall pick in the 2017 draft. However, with the departure of Marlon Humphrey, the left corner spot on that secondary was up for grabs, and Levi put all his focus on getting it. When the first game of his senior year approached, Trayvon Diggs actually started at that spot, but after halftime, Levi replaced him and snagged a key interception. From that point on, the spot was his, and he did not look back. After all this time and all the work that he had put in to reach this goal, he was finally a starter for the Crimson Tide. 3 years prior, the dude had no stars or scholarship offers, and now because of a conversation with his late father that he had had during his freshman year, he was starting for arguably the best secondary in the entire country. I'm sure this was a surreal experience for Levi, but at the same time, he knew that everyone behind him was grinding just as hard as he was for that spot, so he didn't lose focus. He would go on to have a great season as he finished with 48 tackles, 15 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Along with that, Alabama made it all the way to the national championship that year in one dramatic fashion. After that season, Levi started to prepare for the NFL. Obviously, he wasn't going to get picked near the top, but some were predicting that he would be picked around the 7th round. That ended up not happening and he went undrafted, but went on to sign with the Buffalo Bills as an undrafted free agent. In Buffalo, he competed against a couple other guys for a backup corner spot, yet did not impress the coaches enough to earn that spot and was waived as part of the team's final roster cuts. But they signed him to the practice squad the next day. He stayed on the practice squad for around the next 2 months, and then in November of that season, he was called up to the active roster since Buffalo had just released another DB. From that point, he would start the last 7 games of the season and finish with 37 total tackles and 3 pass deflections. Not a bad season at all from a guy who 1, wasn't even drafted, and 2, only played in 7 games. The next year, he only increased his production since he had an entire season to do so. He was named a starting corner at the beginning of the season and did not disappoint. He finished with 67 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 9 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. An absolutely great season to have since Levi had a lot to prove. After that year, his contract actually ended, but the Bills re-signed him to a 1-year contract. In the 2020 season, he would only play in 12 games due to a small injury, but still had a pretty productive stat line. He finished with 45 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 8 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. Another solid year. After that season, the Bills re-signed him to yet another 1-year contract, and he finished with similar stats as well. He recorded 53 total tackles, a tackle for loss, 10 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. Since that season, Levi has moved on from Buffalo and has signed a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Steelers. Now with a new team and a change of scenery, I expect Levi to keep up the grind and continue to prove to people just how talented he is and that he is worth every dollar the Steelers are paying him. So far in the 2022 season, he has shown that, as he currently has 42 total tackles, 12 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions. When we look at Levi Wallace's entire football journey in whole, there is one word that comes to my mind: persistence. The man never quit and worked extremely hard to get where he is today. He was not the guy you look at on the field and say, he's going to be great in the NFL. He is usually slower and weaker than the guy he's guarding, but because of his incredible work ethic towards his technique, he's able to still defend them and defend them well. At the age of 26, he's just getting started and still has many productive seasons left in him. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, please like and share it as that helps the channel to grow. Besides that, until next time.